Hello there, Weswer here back again with another video. Today we're going to be exploring Ripper Demons, which are an extremely overpowered money making method currently. This is due to the Ripper Demon familiar being the best in slot DPS familiar at bosses where you have 100% accuracy and they can take familiar damage. I know I've used a ton of Ripper Demons over the past month or so. How Ripper Demon familiars work is that when you kill a Ripper Demon with a binding contract in your inventory, it binds that Ripper Demon to that contract, making it a summonable familiar. So let's get on how to kill them. In terms of requirements, I would suggest the following: at least 90 attack, at least 90 strength, at least 90 defense, overloads of some kind, so at least 96 herblore, 95 prayer for turmoil, 96 summoning to be able to actually bind the contracts, and 99 slayer for access to your player-owned slayer dungeon. On top of that, to get the upgraded Darklight, you're going to want to have the Dimension of Disaster quest done and then spend your currency on the Darklight upgrade. In order to get the binding contracts, you need to make them as they are untradeable. Each one requires 2 Hellfire Metal, 2 Blood of Orcus, 200 Spirit Shards, and a Blue Charm. As the buy limit for Hellfire Metal and Blood of Orcus is 1000, it's advisable to start off making 500 of them. There are 2 options for making the pouches, one in Taverley and one in Prif. I found that because my shop clicks weren't on point, that it was more efficient for me to use the Prif method, where I got about 2,000 pouches made in an hour. Summon a mammoth and wear the master camouflage outfit. Fill your inventory and familiar like so. You can bladed dive and surge to the obelisk to make the pouches, take from BOB and repeat until your beastal burden is empty. Once your inventory is done, teleport back to Ithil and right beside the bank. I found that having the head of the camouflage outfit keybound to 2 allows you to quickly double tap 2 to open up the menu and hit 2 for Ithil, so go ahead and do that. Ripper Demons are a slightly difficult Slayer monster. They have 4 special things you should know about them. First of all, they jump to you and apply slaughter if you attack them outside of melee range. This heavily emphasizes using melee against them. 2, if you get under 30 HP, all of the Ripper Demons in the room will aggro you all at once, and with their slaughter and how much they hit, that's pretty much instant death unless you teleport away or use devotion. They have an adrenaline bar above their head, and when it gets full, they do an instant kill attack. They jump up and land on a square, and if you don't move, you will die. Usually you should kill them fast enough that their bar will never fill up, but it's good to know. When they die, they spin around, dealing rapid melee damage for a couple seconds. This means that you're going to want to move away from them as soon as they reach 0 HP. Apart from those 4 things, they are just your normal hard-hitting melee slayer monster. Due to how hard they hit, you basically need to be melee protecting the entire time or you will die. Now let's get into the gear inventory setup. In terms of our gear setup, we have as follows: a Masterwork body and Masterwork legs. You can use trim Masterwork here, though with how rapid the Ripper Demons attack, the extra charges end up costing you more than you would gain from the extra kills per hour, so I would not advise it, but if you only have trim Masterwork, feel free to use it. In terms of perks on this, we have Biting 2, Demon Slayer, and Impatient 4 on the top. You're going to want Demon Slayer as that's a 7% damage increase, and I comboed it with Biting 2, and there is a very easy 96% chance of getting it if you use 7 Direct and 2 Ancient components, or I guess they're now called Third Age components. For the perks on the legs, we have Enhanced Devoted 4 and Crackling 4, Relentless 4. Enhanced Devoted 4 is going to be a very OP perk for this because of how quickly they attack. It gives you even more chance for Enhanced Devoted to activate and save you HP. In terms of capes, if you have max, you can wear a Kiln cape with your strength cape on your max cape, as that way you still get the strength perk. If you don't have Kiln cape but have max cape, use a max cape, and then if you don't have either of them, use a strength cape so you get that extra boost. And if you don't have strength, just use any sort of skill cape. For the necklace slot, you're going to want to wear an Amulet of Souls, as it's essentially a 20% damage reduction because you'll be protecting from melee at all times. If you have the ornament kit, that's great, as it will make it considerably better. For boots, my melee DPS boots are laceration boots, but if you don't have the money for that, you can just stick with Bandos boots or other boots. For gloves, you're gonna really want Cinderbanes as Ripper Demons are poisonable, and that leads to so much extra damage from your poison, so you definitely want to have that. For aura, I used Vampirism the entire time and also had a Vampirism Scrimshaw in my pocket slot. This together, the two of them combining together, give you enough healing capabilities that your HP should stay near full at almost all times. For the ammo slot, we have Armor Spikes. These deal your smithing level every time you get hit, as long as you have a melee weapon equipped, so that with how much Ripper Demons attack you, you can end up doing like 300 damage every time they attack, because they attack in threes. For our weapon, we have the Enhanced Darklight, which we got from Dimension of Disaster, and then an offhand Drygore or Khopesh, if you happen to have an extra Khopesh, with Equilibrium 4 and Relentless 3. I personally have a Drygore Mace, as that's my Slayer Mace. So whenever I'm killing a lot of mobs, that's the Drygore I put on. In terms of the inventory, I set myself up for 36-minute trips. It's not a big deal to rebank, as a Chip Menaphos tablet gets you all of 15 seconds away from the Ripper Demons. I use two types of incense sticks, Quorum and Dwarfweed. Quorum gives me more poison damage, while the Dwarfweed sticks teleports items to the bank that I otherwise wouldn't pick up. Apart from that, you want to have the Charming Imp, whether it's in your tool belt or your inventory, as the blue charms that you get, you can reinvest into more pouches. Ripper Demons as a whole basically drop 1 blue charm per kill, so you end up basically breaking even on the blue charms. The gold accumulator is another important drop cleaner, as you'll get a couple million coins, and then you definitely want your spring cleaner in there to alch all of the salvage that is dropped by the Ripper Demon. Past that, I have the 5 heavy dropping items that are worth a lot, so I can pick them up and they always have space in my inventory. Now that we have the inventory and gear set up, we need to capture souls to be able to use them in our Slayer dungeon. So we need to kill them in their natural habitat, which can be found just southeast of the Al-Kharid lodestone. The capture rate depends on your Slayer level and whether you are on task or not. For me, at 120 Slayer, it always counts as if I'm on task, and I ended up with a 1 in 175 chance. But if you aren't 120, you definitely want to have that Slayer task, as it drastically increases your chances. For this portion, I didn't pick up any drops and kept those 5 items in the bank, as I wanted to make sure I had enough inventory space for both the Ushabi and the Ripper Demon contract. So kill these until you have at least 2 souls. If you're going to try hard, a 3rd soul is useful, but I stopped on 2. I ended up settling with 2 souls in my Slayer dungeon, as I didn't want to keep going for a 3rd one, even though it could have helped my kills per hour long term. I went to one of the large rooms in the back of the dungeon and placed them down relatively close to each other. That way I could quickly go from one to another, but they weren't on top of each other, so the spinning mechanic when you kill them didn't affect me. There isn't much to say about the killing process, as it's just like regular Slayer DPS. Do as much damage as you can and move on to the next creature when it dies. If you ever happen to get below 30% HP and the second Ripper Demon piles you, just use Devotion, and by the time Devotion is up, you should be back over 50% HP and won't need to worry about that anymore. As a whole, I was able to peak at 300 kills per hour, but was able to reach a consistent 275 during the 2,000 kills I did. So we have our loot from our 2,000 Ripper Demons here. Most notably is the pouches, as they make up 293 mil. Note it took about 90 mil in order to get all those binding contracts, so that's not pure profit. Then the extra commons drop basically ends up paying for supplies. As you can see, they're not that much. And then we have the extra sand and the 1 lucky 1 in 10k Ripper Claw. On top of that, this 15 mil represents all the coins drops and the spring cleaner drops, minus off the cost of spring. So our total loot was about 333 mil, but let's sell that all in the GE now. And I'll come back when the Ripper Demons have sold.
So it's now the next morning and all of the pouches have sold. So we got 281,998 and we can add that to our 43 mil from all the other loot. And we end up with a total of 325 mil. But between the Elder Rune bars for the armor spikes, the vampirism scrimshaws, the divine charges, the incense sticks, general potions, and the requirements to actually make the binding contracts, we spent 105.5 mil in supplies. That means our total profit from this was 219 mil, and it took us just over 8 hours, which gives me a total of 27.2 mil per hour profit, even after we take off all the costs, which is just insane for what is a Slayer mob that doesn't have the highest requirements in the world. So I just woke up this morning and I was about to upload the Ripper Demon video, but I noticed that the Ripper Demon pouches and the associated items have crashed heavily since I first started making the video, as I did the actual killing about 5 days ago and it just took me a time to kill. And if we see down in my GE history, that's when I sold them at 140k each. And if we scroll back up, they are now 106k each. I just insta-bought and insta-sold one. So I redid all my calculations based on the new price of the binding contract, Blood of Orcus, and Hellfire Metal, and I ended up with 20.3 mil in profit per hour. So it's still really good. It's just not the 27 that I was getting before, and I wanted to make sure that I included this in the video so I wasn't misleading you guys at all. So that's why the title does not match the values that I got. Apart from that, hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions on my setup or what I did or why I did it, please let me know in the comments down below, and subscribe if you like this kind of content. Have a good one.